Russia collusion, very fine people, and more. He said that the U.S. automobile industry would face an economic bloodbath if Democrats won the White House.
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it.
Who was 2024's biggest political loser? Dun, 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 dun. The top 10 media hoaxes perpetrated by our disgusting press in 2024. We're going to go through this article courtesy of our friends at The Federalist. Sean Fleetwood writes this article at Sean Fleetwood on X. He says, Americans have lived through a lot of this stuff. A lot of hoaxes. Russia collusion, very fine people, and more. But like years before, 2024 was no different. Here are some of the biggest hoaxes from our loser media that we saw. Number one, the bloodbath hoax. Remember when Trump was talking in March about bloodbath? He was speaking to rally goers at the time. He said that the U.S. automobile industry would face an economic bloodbath if Democrats won the White House. Then the media went bananas. They took it. They said Trump is promising everyone's going to die. Okay, all of his supporters are going to cause a literal bloodbath. Remember? Lunatics. Left-wing outlets like NBC News, New York Times, and others, they actually ran headlines like that. Here was one headline. Trump says country faces a bloodbath if Biden wins in November. Politico losers. There was also a war on SCOTUS. While Democrat mouthpiece ProPublica started a media war with the Supreme Court, the New York Times took it to a whole new level. In May, New York Times fabricated a controversy about an upside-down American flag at the home of Justice Alito. His wife likes to raise flags, but despite claims of ethics violations, the legal correspondent, Margot Cleveland, who's amazing, who researched judicial ethics, noted that this was an attempt to smear and that the newspaper of record did nothing on this. It was actually just a regular old flag that was nothing controversial at all. And so they made it nuts. So they also then, this was perhaps the biggest, hiding Biden's cognitive decline. Videos were showing that Biden was totally gone, and they lied constantly about it. And in fact, Trump posted about this. Here is a media montage of all the liars explaining just how competent Joe Biden really was.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it.
Because he's so smart.
Because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
I can testify because I've been working very closely with this president for the past 2 years. I've been knowing him for 30 years. And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
Joe Biden has vision. He has knowledge. He has a strategic thinker.
The president is focused. He's detail-oriented. He's always thinking about the big picture.
He is engaging. He is capable. He has an incredible record as president.
And I'm often with him on foreign trips. He's at the top of his game.
So he has a vision. He has knowledge. He has judgment. He has a strategic thinking.
I met with the president, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he seemed fine to me.
I have complete confidence in the president.
Total.
I have watched
that was
him
April.
expertly
Look, in April,
guide
April 16th.
Meetings of staff and cabinet members. I could not have more confidence in the president.
I would just tell you that I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine.
But he is, again, knowledgeable, wise.
Incredibly sharp, incredibly probing, incredible command of the details.
He is sharp.
Liars, man.
He is on top of things.
They lied to us for years. Lied. Look, 68% of Americans say Biden is too old. So they were shoving that down everybody's gullet for years. That was a huge hoax. Project 2025. They couldn't actually run against Trump's policies because everybody liked his policies. And now they had to create a second red herring and then attribute that to him. And that obviously didn't work for him. What about a border czar? Remember after Kamala Harris got named the border czar officially, and they actually wrote about it, Axios called her that, said that she was the border czar, then they reversed it. Well, it wasn't an official title. We didn't actually see that in writing or anything. They wrote the title, the headline, Trump's Arlington cemetery visit. You remember this one? They said that Trump was trying to tarnish the memories of our fallen soldiers. But that didn't work out so well for them because the media hoax, people responded to that. They blasted Kamala Harris for saying he was trying to exploit a visit to Arlington. There was also this one. Legacy media said that Trump called millions of Americans, or actually Biden called millions of Americans garbage. They said, no, he wasn't calling the people garbage. He was saying it was a stutter and that people who were doing bad things were actually garbage, which is not true. Joe called us garbage. They also were talking about Liz Cheney's comments, number 8 in the biggest hoaxes. One of the biggest ones was Trump and his remarks about Cheney. Let's put her with a rifle, standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy, Trump said. Then they came out, remember this? Trump wants Liz shot 9 times in the face. That's not what he said. He said that maniacs like Liz, who will send other people's kids to die, should think twice about it. In the wake of that, they were hyperventilating and saying that was a big problem for Trump. Turns out it wasn't. Because people recognize we're tired of sending our blood overseas to die for what? What assassination attempts? Remember how they just forgot about it? Remember they burned Matthew Crooks' body within 10 days? Same day that Congress announced their bipartisan committee to investigate it, his body was already incinerated, ashes. So you're not doing any DNA confirmation that that was actually him, or you're not able to draw hair samples to see if he was plied full of LSD. You can't do another blood sample. You can't check anything, okay? Evidence is gone. They shredded it. After a longtime Democrat donor tried to kill Trump, everyone covered it up. They called it an incident, not even a big deal. It was totally dishonest. They said shrapnel hit him in the face. Even the FBI lied about it. The Atlantic, Hitler's hysteria as well. The last-ditch attempt to save Kamala, Jeffrey Goldberg ran another Trump loves Hitler claim. Trump loves Hitler. They kept saying it over and over and over again, but it didn't buy. Nobody bought it. So as you can see, 10 major media hoaxes. We survived them all, and they wrecked their credibility in the process of crying like they're playing make-believe in their Democratic fantasy land. So the next question is, who was 2024's biggest political loser? Dun, 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 dun. According to The Federalist, it's Barack Obama. And I think that's pretty accurate. A desperate, phony, and even dangerous campaign of Democrats was all being coordinated by Obama. He thought he was going to come out and do his little shtick and everybody was going to fall in line. But he failed badly. In the final months, Obama seemed to know the outcome of the election. And like all Democrats, he threw Joe out. He stood by and said nothing. I think he actually outsourced this to George Clooney. George Clooney wrote the uncomfortable letter. And then Obama ultimately came out and rounded out the effort. Says if that weren't crazed enough, he then trotted out Michelle to nag male voters. Remember? Michelle came out and said, so fellas, before you cast your votes, ask yourself what side of history do you want to be on? She said male rage is what could cost Democrats the election. You hear that, men? If we don't get this election right, she nagged, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. So are you men prepared to look into the eyes of the women and children you love and tell them that you supported this assault on our safety? Says Michelle. Can we get one of those overpaid consultants to advise her, don't call us fellas? Dude, generally speaking, Democrat men have never been accused of being too manly. That's true. But it remains a mystery as to who came up with the idea to browbeat them into voting for Kamala. If it was Obama's idea, man, he lost his magic. If it wasn't his idea, man, he lost his magic. Hope and change became do what mommy and daddy say. And he lost all of his credibility. Even guys like Rogan are like, that dude lied. He just was out there just straight lying about the Fine People hoax and other things because that's all they had left. They were losing and they were desperate.